Kitces.
Carl Richards, imagine meeting you here randomly, coincidentally, in this
Right.
Zoom room we scheduled ahead of time for
This
this
is
exact purpose.
crazy. I can't believe it. I just was walking in and this will be great. It's like my favorite coffee shop and I get to have a chat with a good friend. So
It is a strange effect of the modern, much more virtual world that just like serendipitous
right.
conversations bumping into people like just don't happen much
Yeah,
anymore the way it
totally.
used to be a normal thing.
Totally. Yeah. Let's talk a little. I want to kind of jump off the last conversation we
Okay.
had. At the end
Oh,
there, we talked about, and if for listeners, if you want to go back and listen to the previous, you probably already have, but if you haven't, you might want to go back and just catch up. We talked about like who let all the feelings in and how the dollar symbol was a provocative symbol.
for clients and like for us as advisors, right? Like
As well, yeah. Yeah.
what
For us as
what
humans,
experiences with money are you carrying with you that might be shaping your advice and your recommendations to clients?
yeah, exactly. And I used to to frame that conversation, I used an exercise that I often do in workshops and large presentations. And at the end there, we talked about like I'm not sure how useful like the ideas are very useful. I wasn't sure how useful the actual like drawing a dollar sign on the board and taking people through it. And that
And asking
related
clients to say like, what's the first word that comes to mind? What's the first feeling that comes to mind when you see like a dollar
exactly.
sign drawn
Yeah,
on?
yeah, I'm not sure. In fact, I was not suggesting that you sit down with a prospect in the first client meeting and you draw a dollar sign on the whiteboard and say, "What do you think?" Um,
Because
and
there are literally some meeting approaches that basically do that,
that's what
right?
I
I mean,
want to talk about.
maybe not drawing because not all of us can like draw
A
as
dollar
beautifully
sign.
as you do. I can't even make a dollar sign that's legible. My handwriting's horrible.
Yeah.
Right, but you get was it, back racks. What's important about money to you, and Kinder
Yeah.
questions, or I mean, if like we
Yeah.
not all of us do it with the drawing, but there are a lot of questions out there that I feel like get to a substantively similar conversation.
Yeah, they go deep pretty quick. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. Just like because I had this really cool experience
Okay.
with Dr. Megan Lertz. And I've just been really impressed with um, her ability to, well, I'm impressed by lots of things about Dr. Lertz, but her ability to, I'm going to use the word like sort of challenge, but it's probably more like investigate, explore, and even, I'm going to use a word here, disagree in a way that is incredibly helpful. Like when it's very rare that somebody disagrees with me in public in a way that's useful, right? Like it's often just like unthoughtful flame throwing, like
Yeah, right. It's like just as opposed to people that disagree with you because they're just trying to troll you.
yeah, like any of us, anybody who writes anything on anywhere, like knows
Yeah,
that feeling. It's unthoughtful. They'll say something about maybe a book you wrote that it's clear they didn't even read the book.
right.
But Dr. Lertz is completely different. Like it's like, hey, she's very skilled in entering it in a right way, but the feedback is very direct. Like, I'm not sure that's right. And then exploring, and so it's very additive to the conversation. It moves the profession forward. It moved me forward. So one of the things she's challenged me on recently, which I has been largely around these first meetings, which
Okay.
I kind of wanted to talk about. And I think she's
So
right.
first meetings where you can do these, what's important about money to you, right? Like
Yeah,
let's get deep with the client out of the gate.
somebody's gonna cry and it's not gonna be me. Like I've said that, and I'm always like
Oh, I've
so.
heard you actually say that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I started thinking a while ago about this as a spectrum, like way out on the like deep end of the spectrum. Maybe we could put some of the life planning questions without getting really specific. Way out here on
Okay.
the like questions that I thought like I want to ask more like that, and then over on this shallow, shallow is not the right word. Um, Less deep end of the spectrum could be something as simple as like, you know, what brought you in today, or what's kind of like top of mind questions. And what Dr. Lertz pointed out to me, which I think was just really helpful, is that often there's a presenting problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is language I've been using for a long time, like the presenting problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to greet that problem, that presenting problem with deep empathy. Even though we know that we want to get, many of us want to get deep. And in this age of like emotional intelligence, be more human, I think there's this real aspiration, almost like this is the right way to do it. The deep way is, and I have certainly, absolutely been guilty at even probably saying that. And this is where I feel like like I stand corrected in terms of like I don't it actually might be the right way for some people,
Mm-hmm.
especially people who are trained and have practiced that and are comfortable with that. But that doesn't make it the right way. And I was particularly interested in the Dr. Lert said something to me like, hey, it could be that we just, and I'd made this comparison before, like I used an arrow. Like, because I was remembering something silly my son had done with a bow and arrow in the backyard. So it makes no sense. But there, like, imagine there was an arrow in your arm and you go into the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
You really aren't interested in a conversation about like your diet or your sleep patterns, right? You're
Uh-huh.
like, bro, get the
I don't need a
arrow.
full body MRI and scan to know how I'm
Get
doing. Like
the arrow
there's a
out of
thing
my
like
arm.
sticking out of me.
Yeah. 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 And then as we work through that over the next couple of months, like making sure things, infection and it heals, and maybe we get a chance to look for little opportunities to go a little deeper. I call them crunchy bits, like little opportunities to go a little deeper where you may mention something about, oh man, when I grew up there were some, thin times around the house. Like it may not even be time yet. Because Dr. Lurtz called this, she referenced something tangentially related of like um, authenticity hangover or vulnerability hangover.
Okay.
The idea of like, have you ever been with somebody at a party and you told them way too much, and then next morning you were like, I hope I never see that person again? You know what I mean? Like just like it was an like I can't
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
I gave my
I
whole
said a
life
little more than I'm
story.
comfortable with. I'm not actually ready to face up to some of the things I said. So the easiest way to avoid that is I'm just going to never actually see them again, and then I have to never have to revisit that conversation again.
Yeah. So what do you make of all? It's super interesting to me that maybe I was over emphasizing and over, like the joke. In fact, I mentioned this at a workshop I recently taught. I said, I'm not sure. I was like, I'm not sure that we should have as a uniform goal that somebody was going to cry and it wasn't going to be me. And there was somebody in the audience that raised their hand and said, at the firm I'm at,
Mhm.
that is one of our driving training principles. We say somebody's going to cry. Are you changing your mind? And I was like, oh no. I was like, I don't know that I'm changing my mind. I'm simply saying I don't know that we should hold this up as the right way. So talk to me about this.
So there are two different threads to this that start running through my mind. The the first is very much akin to what you said, right? As I mean, as I joke a lot, like no one wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning in a cold sweat thinking I need me a comprehensive financial plan.
Right. Or I need to cry on a financial planner's couch.
Yeah, I wake up because something's going on in my financial life. Usually something is at a level of complexity that I can no longer deal with it. And there's some kind of catalyst that's making it an issue now. Right? I'm getting divorced and I've never been responsible for this much money before. Someone died and I don't know what to do. I'm about to retire and I've never lived my life without a paycheck before and I'm kind of freaked out about how this is going to go. Like there's some combination of a complexity and a catalyst event that's actually like making it hard for me to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and says, I think now is the time I actually need to get myself a financial advisor for the first time. or a different financial advisor because mine is not solving this problem. And that's the thing that makes me go and say, I'm actually going to schedule a meeting with you and we're going to do this financial planning thing because apparently that's how we're supposed to do it. But I didn't come to you for a financial plan, right? I came to you for a presenting problem. And you framed
Right.
it like, I came to you because someone accidentally shot me with an arrow and it's sticking out of my arm and I'm pretty sure this is bad. So
Terrible.
can
Right.
we not do like the full body exam and all the different stuff? Like, can you just solve the arrow that's sticking out of me? It really hurts.
Yeah.
And so to me, just with that lens, if financial planning wasn't my thing and like delving into my money stories from decades ago almost certainly wasn't my thing, then I'm a little thrown when I come in because there's an arrow sticking out of me and you want to know what my first memory about money is. Right? Not even to say like that's
Yeah.
a bad thing or not a really impactful conversation with a client,
Just
but
it's unmooring at the very least.
yeah, or like I dare I say in a like a not negative way to some people who've done this, but like you run the risk it comes across a little tone deaf in the moment.
Mm,
It's
mm,
like
mm,
arrow, arm, can we deal with this? Like I came
mm,
to
mm,
you for this,
mm,
and you're kind of getting some stuff that I wasn't really looking for.
mm,
So
mm,
on the one hand, yes, I struggle there because those don't generally feel like the types of questions that are the actual presenting problems for clients. Except unless it actually is because that's how you market and that's what you do.
mm, mm, mm,
Right? There are segment advisors out there who lead with that focus. That's on their website. Probably doesn't
mm,
say
mm.
someone's going to cry on the first meeting. It won't be me, but like you're, although you could, if anyone's actually done that in their marketing materials, I would love to see that.
You do.
Uh, right. But you are leading with life planning, money, purpose, right? It was, you've made all the money. What comes next? Because you're doing like exit planning for successful business owners who really are having these questions of like, oh my gosh, it's really not about the money anymore. I had the exit event and I've never been more miserable because now my life doesn't have purpose and I don't know what to do. And I'm in search for meaning. And apparently you've got some meaning stuff figured out about meaning and money and I need to have this conversation.
Right.
So, ironically, like there are some life planning oriented advisors I know who do this from the very first meeting,
Me too.
and it's the exact right thing to do
Yep.
because that actually really is what their clients are coming to them for, or at least a part of what their clients are coming to them
Yep.
for. Like it's on their
Yep.
website, it's in their marketing materials, it's how they got referred, it's how people talk about them because they've built that brand or presence or positioning in the marketplace. And if that's really what your clients are coming to you for, like go to in the first question, my friends. Like
Yep.
you have found your people, your clients have found you. This is what they're looking for.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep.
But unless that really is like
Well,
how
and
you
can I
market
just
put out to the marketplace,
can I
I'm
just put
not
a pin
sure that's what
in
clients are looking for.
Mike? Let me just put a pin in one thing.
Yeah.
And like, if you are doing that, you probably have a lot of practice, and a lot of skill
Um,
at that thing.
yes.
Like
Well, I
you've
mean, yeah,
practiced that thing.
yes,
It works for
with
you.
yes, with the caveat that I mean, we've all got to start someplace. Like
Yeah, I'm sorry. What I
any
mean
of the
is if
experienced folks had their first few clients where maybe they were a little less experienced. I know some organizations like Kinder Institute, I think actually have you literally like kind of practice this and role play it and get some reps in for the conversation, which is a discussion for another day. But yeah,
what I guess all
nominally
I'm
like
trying to
just you intend to do this and have some learning or practice or reps in or something to that effect that you're probably going to do it okay, or at least you're ready to figure out how to do it as you're going because it's what you really want to do.
that's what I mean is what I should state, that is a skill,
Oh yes.
right? And it takes deep practice. Some people are like high emotional intelligence folks that comes relatively natural to them,
Yes.
but others it takes a lot of skill. And so I think where I've landed on this is I've always said greet the presenting problem with empathy. And maybe I've just expanded my definition of how long that may take. Like somebody's going to cry in the office, it's not going to be me. Maybe that's a statement over 5 years. Maybe it's a statement of first meeting. And I'm just saying I need to be a little bit more generous with the idea um, that greeting the presenting problem with empathy could actually take a year. Like and if that's the case, we slowly are earning permission to go deeper in the form of the relationship and the trust that we're building. But and that is completely okay too. And I always thought the presenting problem was really just a portal. Sometimes they use the word righteous trick. It was really just the opportunity to get to what really matters. But if that could take you a decade, like with some clients, it could be like we've just been solving presenting problems, presenting financial planning solutions, right? So that's kind of where I've landed on this idea.
I'm intrigued by your framing that if you just said like I maybe I have to earn permission over time to have those conversations to get to those conversations with clients. I'm not sure I'm quite framing right what you said, but the like
Yeah,
earn
let's talk. Let's.
permission over time. Like I'm intrigued by that
Yeah,
framing.
I think
You
and
talk
again,
about that more.
yeah, I don't want to put a limit on the word time. Like there are
Okay.
some people, again, we know plenty of those people. I feel like this is how I did it. I feel still feel thrilled with how I if I was doing first meetings again, I don't know that I would adapt that much. But so some people could earn permission to go deeper. And by earn, I just mean like there's this reciprocal relationship, there's trust. There's a lot of research around the idea of reciprocal sharing. And I don't know exactly how that always works with planners. I don't know if it's certainly not 50-50, but is there some sharing of your own experience that makes this process easier? There's some over time you've helped me solve problems. I came to you with a presenting problem. You showed up the way I would expect a financial planner to show up. Like it wasn't jarring, it wasn't unmooring. You did a great job. I've watched like my wife build her interior design business, and she's done a great job on projects, and now suddenly she's doing bigger houses and bigger projects and bigger projects. So I think there's that same thing of like we get to know one another, and that can happen in 10 minutes. It's not always a function of the quantity of the time. It could also be a function of the quality of the experience. It could also take years. And I think that could match both from the client's perspective, it could take a long time. It could also from my perspective, like I'm not comfortable doing that stuff. It's not what I want to do. I don't like I think there's a lot of interplay here that
Mhm.
that leads us to this position of, and by earn permission, I don't mean sort of like I'm begging for permission. I just mean like have trustworthy experience and trustworthy experience, an experience that feels like you're leading me on a path that I want to go on. You never pulled the rug out from underneath me.
Yep.
Like I felt safe in your guidance. And I know that's pretty loose terms, but that's what I'm pointing to.
So look, I love that like you're coming to the shallow spreadsheet realm. It's a beautiful
I'm,
thing.
I'm just acknowledging the beauty of it. I'm not coming there.
Uh, so Eric, that's actually where I was going with the question I'm going to ask. So I'm struck that on the one hand you're saying right, like maybe more of us have to earn permission for this over time, and I also just heard you say, but if I was actually going back and doing first meeting with clients today, Carl Richards, I don't know that I would do anything materially different.
Yeah, I look, I
So
want to be clear. We
so
all
you're
have to.
very comfortable there, like still, sort of notwithstanding the discussion.
Dude, listen to what we just in the last episode, right? Drawing a dollar sign on a thing and then taking in front of 1,800 people and taking night. Like I'm more comfortable than I've ever been. And I'm not, I'm what I'm softening on. And I think we all, not some of us, we all have to earn permission
Mhm.
to go to those places. And sometimes that permission earning takes minutes, sometimes it takes hours, sometimes it takes weeks or years. What I'm, this mea culpa, if you will, is saying, um, acknowledging that that's not the right solution. Because I feel like we're all like, I feel I almost feel a little frantic energy in the air around, it's probably started with behavioral finance, whenever that was,
Yep.
20 years ago. And like it's now gotten to this like, financial therapy is amazing, right? It's amazing. Emotional intelligence, amazing. These deeper exploratory life coaching style questions, amazing. Sometimes there's this feeling of like that's where all of this leads. like
Mhm.
like like it feels like a mature like levels, and sort of like, oh, are you a level two? Oh, that's cute. You're a level two planner. You still talk about spreadsheets. What I'm trying to say is maybe we
Uh,
need to stop that.
so
I wish if you're not
yes.
watching, Michael is trying to figure out exactly how to help me see.
Well, no, like I no, I like I don't disagree, but to me, like it still feels like, and I don't mean this in a negative way to you, like
Please
it
come.
still feels like it comes back to, but if I could have the conversations as well as you do, if I
Mm,
could be as
mm,
good at it as you are, I
mm.
could still do this in the first 10 minutes of every client meeting. I've
I
accepted that I can't do this as well as you. That's why I hang out with my spreadsheets.
Yeah,
So
I mean I remember you
I'm
saying,
feeling fine, but
yeah. I
I
remember you
still, and like I'm not trying to like challenge you on this in a
no,
negative way, but
please.
it
Yeah.
does still feel like there's an aspect of like,
Aspirational.
but if you are able to have the conversations that effectively, like go for it in the first 10
Yeah,
minutes.
that's why I want to have this conversation is we need to work on that languaging. Like I need to work on it. We need to work on it as an industry. Because I remember you saying that you and Alan said something like that. Geez. I mean, I've been back it was probably 12 years ago. You
Oh,
said, I just want to sit in on one of your first meetings.
oh,
And I I want to really point out, like 50
I still kind of
fires.
want to. We've never actually had that opportunity.
50 fires is like my first question is almost always literally phrased, Krista Tippett, Krista, let's go. I'd love to start at the beginning. Like, what's your first memory of money? Like, I love that stuff. I want to go there as fast as possible.
So,
But what I'm not saying is that everybody else should want to do that
yeah.
or that every client wants to do that.
I was going to say, so does that context change because they know they're coming in to have that kind of conversation with you?
I think that's why your earlier framing was is really important. Like the all of some of our favorite friends, some of our favorite planners are deep on the life planning side of
Yeah.
things, and they
And
have
they're freaking amazing.
yeah, and they're upstream and they get there fast. And but the reason there's a thing that happens before most of the time there's a thing that happens before the people get there.
Hmm.
And my friend Blair Enns calls it the flip. There's a thing that happen, and the flip has to happen before the prospective clients arrive at your office. And the flip is, whoa, this one's different. This is a different thing we're going for. We're going
Okay.
right. And so I think what you're saying is people show up maybe they show up as a guest at 50 Fires and maybe they go listen to an episode when they get asked and to check out if they want to come on and they say, "Oh, that's interesting." And the people who say no probably come on and go, "Oh, that sounds really dumb," and they don't reply to us. Or maybe it's the email we send. Like this is a show about money, not that kind, like the email that we send that says, you know, we're going to have the kind of conversation you'd have around a fire. or at a coffee shop. So maybe that's we're priming people so that that works. And you can do that as an advisor. What I'm trying to be really careful here is this is not the right way for, this is not the right way for you shouldn't do this. Not because you're not good at it, but because you're really, really good at something else. Like it would be like me saying, man, I want to have 16 designations and know how to build spreadsheets like Michael and know the tax rules. And there's massive value there. And if I started trying to do that, I'd feel inadequate the whole time and I'd feel like I wasn't very good at things and I'd quit. And that's kind of what I'm saying is it doesn't mean to be like if you're as good as me. And I think that's crept into our industry because of emotional intelligence, being human, behavioral finance,
Okay.
financial therapy. And I'm just saying, hey, there's room for all of these things. And let's remember, there are some clients who, no matter how good you are,
Right.
you could be the best life planner in the world. And there are some clients that are just going to be like, bro, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm out of here.
So I feel like this almost then takes us to a similar place that we had towards the end of the last episode, which is be clear about which one you are or are trying to be of wherever you want to be on that
Right.
spectrum,
Right.
and let clients just make the grown-up decision about what they want, because clients are also on a wonderful spectrum of things they want, and you can find your tribe of clients pretty much anywhere on that spectrum.
Totally.
Just make sure you're clear where you want to be and how you want to be showing up, so that ideally you're getting the clients who actually want you to show up exactly that way. It reminds me, former firm, like there was one advisor who was particularly good at the really technical clients. Like he was a CFP and a CFA and a CPA, and you just kind of knew, like, engineer client got referred, guess who it's going to?
Right.
Because he was great with them. And they drove a lot of other advisors nuts, but he was great with those clients because those were his people.
Yep. And I would imagine that over time, some of those clients mentioned something around the edges that maybe didn't fit perfectly in a spreadsheet, but that particular planner probably remembered them like, oh, you told me it was important to send your kids to the best school possible. Like, or like my example is always Jerry and Vera. Jerry was Tom Broka's Greatest Generation. Like he was like, I never want to be a burden to the kids. Like Jerry was never gonna cry in the office. And so like you can build an insanely great business making a massive impact on people's lives by simply noticing over time like what's really important to them. Like and noticing like, oh, I remember Jerry, you said how important your kids are. How are the kids? Like and you could actually build a massively a great business that's incredibly impactful without ever saying even those things. So that's all I'm saying. And the one thing this leaves us hanging on that I think we just need to table for another discussion is last time when we talked about those words that came up, like insecure and desperate.
Yep.
Is it, and we said something like, I would imagine if we didn't know that about a client, we were framing it as advisors. If we didn't know that about ourselves, but I think it's also true. If we don't know that about clients, are they are they making financial decisions based on that scripting that would be rather challenging to unwind unless we knew that? And now suddenly are we back at this, everybody should do financial therapy?
Well, as you said, I mean, some of this you earn permission over time. Some of this unfolds over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I could think over the years of, the client that says being on track for retirement is really important. Like, great. So, you need to save this much more to your 401k plan. And they say, great, we're going to do that. And then a year goes by and they come in for a review. And it's like, you didn't change your savings to your 401k plan. So I think we did this a couple of months ago in my in my early days, I would have said something to the effect of like, you need to be a better client and do the things that I recommended to you. And then I went through a phase for a while of like, okay, apparently I'm a terrible financial planner because I can't convince my clients to do anything that I'm telling them to do. And then there was another stage that I got to eventually of, okay, well, you said this was important to you, but you're not actually doing the things. So maybe it's not actually the most important thing. Like maybe I missed something, or maybe I didn't ask deeply enough, or maybe I even just need to have a conversation with the client to say, like, look, you said saving more and being on track for retirement was really important for you, but you haven't made any progress on it over the past year, and you weren't even able to get your 401k savings turn on. So it seems like there's something else that's part of the picture.
Mm,
And I just love to understand like more of what's going on in your world because it just seems like there's a tension there for you between what you're saying and how you're showing up.
yeah.
And just have that conversation. And basically, I'm going to find out that there's something else in this picture besides
Uh,
just what they said. Now, I don't, per your comments, it's still not quite my style to say like I feel like there's something else missing. What's your first memory of money? And tell me about what's important about money to you. Right? I'm not trying to make light of the question. Just like
totally.
I still don't quite know how to get to some of those questions. Sometimes in
Yeah.
an I don't know in an elegant enough way, but I can see like okay, I've been working with this client, and they're saying this goal is important, and they're not doing the things. Maybe there's something else going on in this picture that I just need to ask about, like not in a
Mhm.
negative way or an accusatory way, but just you said this was important and you're doing that. It's like
Yeah.
help me understand what's driving the decision right now.
It's so good. Yeah, I guess maybe where I would wrap
Because
up is
they're
this.
otherwise they're gonna screw up my spreadsheet. It's really
Exactly. Like I cannot have that.
we're off track from the spreadsheet. It's been a
Right.
year. The lines are diverging. This is bad. I have to solve for this.
I guess where I would sort of wrap up on this is just I really appreciate um, people like Dr. Lertz. You're this way too, who care enough about all the work we're doing to keep pushing,
Yeah.
and to appropriately challenge and to disagree thoughtfully um and like that's a whole nother skill, right? Like how to appropriately challenge and disagree thoughtfully and so we can move the profession forward because it turns out I think we know almost as I think we know close to nothing about what we're really doing. And we're just going to keep trying and keep trying because we're dealing with humans and feelings and markets and like you couldn't make a more complex adaptive mixture. And
Yeah.
so I just I'm the more I'm involved, the more I'm realizing I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's okay. And I think that's maybe where I wanted to wrap is like, keep trying experiments. Like you'll hear something
Yeah.
from somebody and you're like, that sounds really good. I like that. Well, go try it. Design a little experiment. Role play with somebody in the office. Try it with the next prospective client. Maybe that's one single little question in the middle of
Yeah.
like try ask. Like I run lots of experiments where I pay attention to a single question, and just see
Yep.
what shows up. So just keep realizing since I feel like I know next to nothing, you probably know more than me. So we're all in the same boat. Just keep trying for the sake of people. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, all I know is it's not getting any better out there in terms of people's feelings about their relationship with money. If I brought up that list we had last time, it certainly wasn't 50-50 of the people who said freedom and happiness and malop, and it was
Yep.
way more skewed towards, and I think that's generally true. And the only way I know to solve that is in conversations and how they present,
Yeah.
looking for opportunities to make a difference here and there. Sometimes going right there. Sometimes I call this like punch in the nose or an empathetic hug. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's checkers. Sometimes it's chess.
Yep.
And some of you are so good at checkers. It's up on up on the page, you can just go straight there. And some of us, we play chess. They're both amazing. So just keep doing it.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl.
Cheers, Michael.
Cheers.